So the first thing I'd like to talk about is the resolutions that are proposed regarding the role of the mayor and her interactions with staff and council. And I stated my objections to this at our last council meeting, and I still strongly object to the way that is being handled. Evidently, I'm going to be in the minority on this vote, but I did want at least to make it clear that I believe that the city attorney should recuse himself from carrying out the investigation. It's clear that he would not be able to be objective in this matter since he is the object of much of the dispute at hand. So I would like for my fellow council members to consider that. I also know that at our last meeting, it was brought out that Councilwoman Meese had concerns about the mayor expressing opinions in the past, even going back as far as 4 years ago during the COVID pandemic. That's a long time ago. You would think that we would have gotten beyond that at this point. But it had to do with the mayor's expression of her opinions. Yet I find it disturbing that Councilwoman Meese, in particular, was a strong advocate of the council members being able to express their First Amendment rights. That was at our May 9th, 2023 council meeting, where the mayor had proposed that the council members adhere to the same social networking policy as the employees do. And after hearing from members of the public who came to that May 9th meeting, who strongly expressed their opposition to the council members adhering to a policy like this, the council voted unanimously to deny the changes in the social networking policy. So I feel like we should give the mayor the same freedom of speech that we ourselves as council members expect to have. One other thing I'd like to say.
Can we address that?
In just a moment, when I finish. Thank you. Is that the tone of the resolutions that are proposed by our city attorney are, in my opinion, very divisive and inflammatory. And even if there is some measure of truth to any of the allegations that have yet to be investigated, I would like to quote what my pastor preached about on Sunday. He said, "Even if it's true, sometimes it just doesn't need to be said." So I would like for all of you to just consider that and whether you even want these resolutions to go forward.
Can I comment real quick? So your first objection, I just want to go back to the notes I have. The attorney recused from investigation. And I can be corrected if I'm wrong, but I don't believe the attorney is going to be conducting an investigation. Both of these resolutions are to send this to the authorities that would be in charge of those investigations. It would not be the city attorney investigating anything. And I don't know if I'm right or wrong on that. I just want to make sure I understood the resolutions correctly.
That'd be correct.
May I interject? Mm-hmm. Actually, it states that the city attorney would conduct a review. That's in section 2 of both resolutions.
If I'm
Could you address that, sir?
Yeah, the section 2 states the city council directs the city's attorney to conduct a review and submit questions regarding the mayor's interactions with members of the city staff to any entity with jurisdiction to investigate and make findings. Meaning I'm reviewing prior to submitting these questions to a third-party entity, be it the state attorney's office, the Florida Attorney General, or the Florida Commission on Ethics, depending on their jurisdiction, for them to investigate and make appropriate findings.
Thank you, Alex, but I think that needs to be reworded then, because it appears to me, it clearly states that you would be conducting the review.
Someone has to submit those questions to those agencies.
I still object to the wording. I think you can do better, Alex.
Can we respond to you now? Okay. I do believe in freedom of speech. I always have. However, what I was referring to was the mayor representing the council, as we had voted one way and we hadn't, and on major networks representing supposedly what we had decided when we had all voted a different direction. That's what I'm referring to.
Additional discussion?
Marylin, you just mentioned basically giving grace. You and Mike Cusack tried to fire our city attorney twice. There was no grace given then. It's funny how you're asking for grace now for the mayor. And, it's really just unbelievable that, in this situation, our attorney, and has just been shown this past week with Mike's plea bargain with the state, everything that y'all brought up in going after this man, and now that the mayor went after his livelihood, his job, his bar license, where he can do anything, that's okay with you two. But now that we want to ask the question if everything was followed properly, and we're not the authority to do that, then you want grace for the mayor. We've been given grace for a long time, and you always say that let's work together. I don't see that ever happening with you. Basically, you two ever trying to work with us on a thing. It's always attack, especially our attorney. And now it's come full circle, and it's time for somebody else to look at this. The attorney's doing what he's supposed to do, whether you agree with it or not, and I fully support both of these resolutions the way they're written. So,
I'm ready to. Can I say something else? Yeah, I as well. I mean, it's our attorney's job to do this and take all this information and find out, really what's going on. We have the right to know. The citizens have the right to know what's going on. So, again, I'm 100% behind having somebody look at it all and see what comes out. If it comes out negatively, then it gets dealt with, and if it's not, then we all can move forward. I said it when I first started as a council member that I wasn't going to bicker, fight, and argue with people, and I'm not going to do that. But I am going to stand up for the citizens of Milton.
I would like to respond. I have shown a lot of grace to a lot of my fellow council members. I've shown grace to the city attorney. There are statements that have been made to me that have been demeaning and insulting, and yet I've not, until now, brought that out in the open. And, I don't understand why there is so much pushback against our mayor at this point. I don't think she's being given the respect that she deserves.
can I ask you a question? Do you believe it was right for both of you for the bar complaint by the mayor?
I believe it was her right.
Do you believe it was
file that
right?
complaint.
It's our right to do these resolutions if the council chooses to move it to other authorities to make a decision, whether there was wrongdoing or not. You're asking us, you're being kind of hypocritical when you say what you're saying, you agreed that it was okay for the mayor to go as the mayor to file a bar complaint that was, as if the citizens don't know, it was thrown out basically in a week based on being personal and political. Do you think that was correct? It's an opinion.
In my opinion, that was her right. But
Do you
she's-
agree with it?
It's not I'm not the one to judge whether I agree with that. Now, I have not disputed that an investigation needs to be made. Councilman Powell made a good point at our last meeting that we should leave it up to the authorities to decide, but that should not be left up to the city attorney to decide.
Well,
He's not deciding.
yeah, council members, if I may participate for a moment, as elected officials within the city, you all sit in a position of public trust that you've been entrusted with by the voters of the city. Incumbent within that position of public trust comes a duty of good faith to act transparently and to follow Florida law. At the same time, if there's credible evidence, for instance, that an elected official, namely the mayor, committed perjury in submitting this bar complaint, you also have a responsibility to investigate that. In this case, there is credible evidence the mayor committed perjury in submitting this bar complaint. There's also credible evidence that the mayor fabricated public records documents, and there's credible evidence that the mayor did not comply with Florida public records laws in using her private email account to subvert public scrutiny. There's credible evidence that the mayor conspired and collaborated with Don Molinero's private attorney, Matthew Hargraves, to try and fabricate a claim against the city for wrongful termination. In your position as the city council, you have a duty to go investigate these instances because there's credible evidence. This is not at all personal for any individual. You don't need to make statements of findings of violation of statute to all act in good faith and say, we can agree on some of these facts. There was a whole meeting discussing my interactions with Mr. Collins prior to him contacting the whole council and saying he was reconsidering. Yet the mayor, in a sworn statement to the Florida Bar, claimed that I recruited him in some bizarre conspiracy to avoid Don Molinero's whistleblower complaint. Councilwoman Farrow, I recall sharing all of my text messages with you immediately. And in July of last year, I immediately brought to the mayor my concerns about Councilman Cusack's secret communication with Mr. Collins. And instead of trying to pursue that in good faith to come to an actual conclusion and share facts with everyone, she called 3 separate special meetings to try and lay the blame at my feet, despite the fact that I took the affirmative step of sharing with the whole council immediately every shred of my communication. After a circumstance where something may harm the city, every elected official and then the 3 members of staff who answer directly to the council should all act in good faith and share information transparently. Unfortunately, last July, that did not occur. Those are circumstances that in your positions, in positions where you should be jealously guarding the public trust, there are credible examples where that public trust was egregiously violated. And as a council, if you want to reaffirm that public trust, you have a duty to investigate and affirm what happened. And if there are consequences for the actions of specific individuals, those consequences should be brought.
I have no further comment.
Council? Okay, if we could, we'll move ahead to the council work session agenda. The first,
Quick question. If we want to add something to the agenda, do we do it now?
To the agenda for the council meeting or to the agenda for the work session?